This is the second week of our Art of the Day presentations. This week, as we know, we are talking about painting, and in front of me I have two excellent presentations, one by Cedric and one by Faith. Let's start with Cedric's presentation on Gerhard Richter. Gerhard Richter, Gerhard Richter, he was born in Germany. He's 88 years old. In his early years, Richter attended grammar school, but eventually dropped out. He was described as a highly gifted child, but notoriously bad in school. He ended up attending a vocational school instead. He studied stenography, bookkeeping, and Russian. His interest in art peaked during the aftermath of World War II. He began to take painting classes in the evening in Ziatu, but even after painting classes, he actually wasn't interested in becoming a professional artist. So what he did was he became an apprentice for many professions. In 1950, he was actually taken in as an assistant set painter in the Municipal Theater. His career ended there, though, when he refused to do a wall painting on the theater staircase. Soon after he left the theater, he applied at the Dresden Art Academy to study painting. Richter attended a 5-year course, and he described it as a very rigorous course that required him to be up by 8 a.m. and lasted for another 8 hours. He completed his studies in 1956. Here's a critic's statement of Gerhard Richter. Something from Adrian Searle, the chief art critic of the Guardian newspaper. Richter knows that a painting is construct, and our view of nature too, the way we try to idealize it and tame it. That's an interesting statement. Richter is the most complicated of painters. He can really affect one psychologically and move one with his material. He makes art in so many different ways. He moves between figuration and portrait painting, landscape, monochrome painting, and geometric abstract. So I presume this is an oil painting because I believe most of Gerhard Richter's painting is done in oil. This is interesting. This is an image I haven't seen before. I can't tell if the painting was cut and sewn back together, maybe. But it's also super creepy. Look at that. XL 513 from 1964. Look how fast this airplane looks like it's moving. He's really using the visual texture to really show the implied texture. Eng, that's a person's name, created in 1965. This is a really great picture too. I don't know how large all of his paintings are. The ones that I've seen in person tend to be not too big but not too small, about the size of, say, your bedroom window. This is beautiful. Dog's Head from 1965. This is something I'm not familiar with. 192 colors. Simply flat colors. Presumably all of them are different. Townscape in M1 I'm not sure what that means. It looks like we're looking at the roofs of some buildings. Maybe it was from an airplane, photograph from an airplane. 1968, yeah. Not totally familiar with this painting either, but it's beautiful. Sort of different than, I really like the ones with the fast moving lines that go across them. This one's different. Wow, it looks like in the 60s he was very, very much experimenting. Interesting. It's hard to see what's going on here. I'm not sure that all the colors in this grid of all these dots of colors, I'm not sure that they are part of the artwork. Perhaps it's a painting of water here that's splashing. I'm not familiar with most of these color paintings. I mean, they're wonderful. I like how soft they appear. Gerhard Richter, as I know, has done a lot of abstract painting. Um, but this, again, is a style I'm not really familiar with. This is getting more into what I'm familiar with his abstract painting. And that, this is what I'm super familiar with. Drips and scrapes. Birkenau. I really like this painting personally. So, Cedric's opinion. Honestly, his artwork is really nice. His art can make me experience various emotions while looking at it. For example, one of his abstract arts called Wave makes me feel a little empty and sad because of the color pattern. I can see the clouds in the background and the waves in the front, and it is black and white. Usually when it is a cloudy day, it is pretty gloomy and depressing outside, and I think that's what he was trying to get at here. A lot of his artworks cause me confusion. For example, the last three artworks I put on this PowerPoint, when I look at it, I ask myself what I am looking at. But I think Gerhard Richter does this on purpose because he wants us to interpret it in our own way. And I think it's cool that he not only does painting, but he has created drawings, atlas editions, oil on paper, and even more. The 15 artworks I chose were all ones I found interesting, but in all, his artwork is very unique, and I can appreciate it because each piece can make me feel a certain way in an instant. And there's Cedric. Nice to meet you. I think that's a really great. Those are really great points that you made, Cedric. Um, I like that you really talked about emotion when talking about the wave painting, and I think I don't think that Gerhard Richter is really trying to confuse anybody, but I understand that looking at the work might be confusing. What I like about it is it seems to be about the paint, about the interaction of the paint and the color, and using some of the techniques that he of sort of like spreading and smearing the paint that he's used in other paintings. Well, that's a great presentation. Thank you, Cedric. All right, on to Faith. Her presentation on Jenny Saville. Biography. Jenny Saville was born on May 7th, 1970 in Cambridge. Her parents, both educators. She was first attracted to painting at the age of 8. drawing on issues around the body and its representation. Seville has shied away from idealized images of the body. Seville's paintings also have left their mark on popular culture. From the same website, oil paintings of fleshy bodies or charcoal drawings of layered and overlapping figures. Seville combines figuration and abstraction to create direct and unidealized images of the human form. Drawing on precedents from the history of art, she presents bodies, often damaged, dimpled, or altered, that speak to our contemporary moment. Jenny is an English painter and photographer. She studied at Glasgow School of Art, graduating in '92 with a BFA, stated Catherine M. Grant. Catherine also stated that Jenny was approached by the collector Charles Saatchi, who first exhibited her work in 1994. During the beginning of her career, she began by painting larger models like the painting plan. According to the New York Times article written by Roberta Smith, she stated Miss Seville's general strategy is to exaggerate the age-old artistic obsession with the female nude, reflected in Titian, Rubens, Rembrandt, and Ingres. Hyphen. Oil painting on 84 by 96 canvas, so that is less than 8 feet tall and then 8 feet wide, from 2003. Here's another critic's statement. Mark Stevens, an art critic, and Willem de Kooning, scholar, well, Willem de Kooning is also a painter, stated, "Flesh was the reason of oil painting was invented. If there's a single artist working today who truly gets flesh, it is Jenny Seville. My opinion, I love this painting. I really like the way she lays down her paints. I feel like if I were to see this painting in person, it would have the impasto type of texture. I also really like the color palette." Excellent use of the word impasto. Thank you for that. Plan. Oil painting, 274 by 213 centimeters. I have no idea how to translate that into inches, but I always assumed this was a large painting. Another statement. The brushwork is both delicate and aggressive, often building up thick impasto on the painting surface. She is nonetheless able to capture every vein, every dimple, every splotchy bit of flesh, and every strand of hair. It was also stated that Seville has said, "The lines on her body are the marks they make before you have liposuction done to you." My opinion. After reading more about the construction of the piece, I loved it even more. The fact that Seville is painting women's bodies is very inspirational, especially bringing awareness to body shaming plastic surgery. I really like the placement point of view. I find it very organic and different. I agree. Closed contact. Vintage C-print mounted on cardboard, made in 2002. C-print is a type of printing used in photography. It's a digital print, but a high quality print. The full range of color, tonality, and topography of live flesh in large photographic tableau that portrays Seville's own body. Distortions confront and coerce the viewer into an examination of his or her own body and the grotesqueries and beauties inherent within. The images likewise recall biological specimens preserved, disembodied, and disfigured. Faith's opinion. I looked at the whole collection and they were so cool. The way the models were placed was so artistic. Each picture had a different vibe. I like the variety and expressions in each one. So, my question, side note, to each of you is, how is this photo taken? What was she doing? I believe that the model was pressing their body up to glass. I find that fascinating. Mothers. Pencil on paper, made in 2009, 2010, on an 89 and 1/8 by 69 and a half inch paper. So that is less than 8 feet tall, about 7.5 by almost 6 feet wide. Stated from the website, theartstory.org, she has drawn and erased the figures multiple times, overlapping and layering them in order to create a sense of movement and simultaneity, using both hurried line drawing and thick, fleshy painting. The movement in the painting and the use of drawing makes Mothers stylistically different from her earlier work. Face opinion. I found this piece to be very interesting. I think this piece illustrates implied motion very well, especially her expression. To me, that's my favorite part of the piece. You can just see how exhausted she is, and it makes the painting, in my opinion. I agree with that. I think it's beautiful. I love seeing the shadows of other drawings on top of or behind this. It really shows movement and sort of an immediate history. Mirror. Oil stained pastel and charcoal, made in 2015. Multiple reclining figures are intertwined against a backdrop that evokes both Renaissance painting and the decorative patterning of Matisse. Seville's use of charcoal allows her to pile forms one on top of another, building up the image through the masterful use of line and tone. It also stated, the obscured faces of famous female nudes from art history peer out at us. We see Monet's Olympia, Giorgione's Sleeping Venus, the angular limbs of Picasso's early nudes, but also the face of the artist, not once but twice at least. She's doubled, mirrored, as the title of the work suggests. By doubling her image, Seville presents herself as both subject and object, artist and model. That is interesting. I have not seen this drawing before. So we're seeing, apparently, we're supposed to see faces that resemble others from other major paintings. This, I believe, is Jenny Seville's face, here and here. There might be a face here that jumps out. I don't know from which painting, though. I think this piece is very interesting, although it's not one of my favorites. I think the overlapping of lines is what makes it so interesting. It allows the person viewing it to find a new part of it every time they look at it. And I agree with that. I would love to see this drawing in person, or painting in person. Olympia. Oil and charcoal on canvas, made in 2012-2014 on an 85 and 7/16 tall by 93 and 1/8 inch wide canvas. Her heavier, thick painting style is mingled with feverish marks and slashes reminiscent of a child's scribble, all set against the shadowy outline of the cityscape in the background. Both figurative and abstract, the overlapping bodies' forms are set off by a rectangular frame that appears to be the resting on the picture plane, producing the effect of painting within a painting, with the two bodies trying to escape the edges of the picture frame. Her opinion. I really like how messy it's illustrated. I also love the color palette. I think the warm brown and the blue-pink hues complement each other very well. My favorite part of this painting is the random leg at the bottom towards the middle of the painting. Oh, this one here. So, as what was in the critic's statement, it appears to be a painting within a painting. So, it's a painting of a painting with the painting on top of it, which is just beautiful. And so what Faith is saying is that this leg seems to be breaking the picture frame. Still, oil painting on 108 by 144.5 inch canvas. The whole is cast in a beautiful but eerie blue light, and the two round forms to the upper right, presumably examination lights, add a haunting note. Jenny Saville applies her varied palette of oil colors and broad, fluid strokes. Building a rich painterly surface she likens to layers of flesh. The creamy textures and the opalescent hues seduce the eye yet seem at odds with the gruesome nature of the subject. When I first saw this piece, it made me feel sad and empty. The person looks like they're in so much pain, and I think Seville did an amazing job illustrating that. The use of cool tone colors really emphasized that empty feeling that I got. I totally agree. In fact, I look at some of these, like this painting and other paintings like it, and I wonder if the person is alive or dead. It looks like an examination table. Maybe it's a surgeon's room, like an ER, or maybe it's a morgue. I'm not sure. It's very sort of disturbing, but I'm drawn to it as well. Painting called Reverse. Oil painting made on 84 by 96 inch canvas. The art critic Rebecca Cameron said, rather than using a neutral skin tone and blah blah blah. Rather than using neutral skin tones, she substituted these colors for reds and browns. This is to show the indication of the inside face in the sense of blood and flesh. She changes her perception of her own face by giving her the appearance of cracked skin, as this is to reveal hints of her insides. Seville expresses the face's openings as if it were deteriorating and breaking down whilst she was painting herself. The mouth is the focal point that draws the viewers to look at the painting due to her emphasis on the size. I agree with that. Faith says that this is her favorite painting that Jenny made. I love self-portrait. The way the warm tone colors bring her face come to life is what I think make the painting. The way her eyes just stare at your soul is so mesmerizing. I love it. I also love it. I'm not sure if people feel the same, but to me, it almost looked like she has a bloody lip and maybe blood on her face. Maybe, maybe not. But I have thought before that this painting looks like she had been sort of brutalized. Maybe that's true, maybe it isn't. Red Stairhead. Oil painting from 2006 to 11. 99 and 3/16 by 73 and 3/16 inch canvas. Red Stairhead is a girl looking slightly down and away with skin problem on the near side of her face. The eye is central in the composition of both. The near eye looks away yet stares serenely aware, but the face seems to fall and sweep and skid off the eye and up from the lips, making a brilliant painterly surface to contrast with the traditional two areas in which characters are made. My opinion. This is my second favorite piece. Again, I love the colors. The technique she used for skin tone is very interesting. The way that it's not perfect and that messy texture she gives the skin is amazing. My favorite part of this painting are the eyes. They look so real and very clear. I agree with that. The eyes are beautiful. The skin rash and the way that the mouth is, it's interesting, disturbing, but maybe just human, you know? Passage, oil painting made in 2004 on what is probably a large canvas. Thickly painted, though seemingly unfinished, Passage continues Seville's interest in sinuously painted, fleshy bodies that defy traditional representations of the reclining nude. The flesh is depicted with powerful and aggressive, though sumptuously handled brushwork that reveals the influence of a painter like Willem de Kooning, who was similarly drawn to representations of the body and flesh. Faith says, I really like how different the color palette on this painting is compared to the others. It's more on the cooler side. I think the focal point part that stands out the most is their genital area and their facial expression. I agree with that. And I agree with the use of color. I like that in some of Jenny Saville's paintings, the colors seem to be a little bit arbitrary. but definitely appropriate, and it definitely gives a cool feeling, a cool environment. Excellent. The citations page. All right. Well, that was a great presentation on Jenny Seville, Faith. Thank you very much for that. And that is the end of the Art of the Day presentations. Go ahead and make sure that you've watched the lecture and then take the quiz.